So career highlight story time. I designed these iconic food hygiene rating stickers that you see in every single food establishment across the UK. And I'm going to tell you the story behind how someone ends up working on a project like that. My name is Shanaz Ahmed. I'm a creative director and I've worked in the creative and advertising industry for the last 2 decades. I'm also a mum of 2. I'm of Bangladeshi origin, but I was born and bred in London. And I've got a lot of stories to share about my career in creativity. So give me a follow if you want to know more. So we're going to go back 16 years ago because that is when I designed those stickers. And they have not changed since I handed in that artwork all those many years ago. I had landed my first ever job at a marketing agency called Iris. And at Iris, I entered as a junior level graphic designer. And then a few years into that, I got promoted into a mid-weight designer. And that is when I received a brief from the Food Standards Agency, which I'd never heard of before. And they were a part of the UK government. And one of our clients was the UK Gov. So I received the brief and I remember thinking that it was actually a pretty dry brief because it was a pilot. So I never even thought that it would see the light of day. The brief said that the FSA, Food Standards Agency, were piloting a food hygiene rating system in a very specific area and they just needed a sticker and a certificate that was going to be shown on food establishment windows. And I was like, okay, this is cool. I mean, I'm going to do the brief. I'm going to give it absolutely everything, but it didn't feel very sexy. You know, like I entered the advertising industry thinking that I was going to be working on big TV commercials and out of home ads, and social wasn't a thing then. But I thought that my work was going to be seen by like loads of people out in the world. And I did work on work like that when I was at that agency. But I received this brief and I thought, wow, this one doesn't seem very sexy, does it? Little did I know that it would be my most viewed, most distributed work probably in my entire career because it is absolutely everywhere. So the moral of the story is that the most unassuming briefs could potentially be your most creative, your most fun, and your most famous work. Okay, so let's talk about how it ended up coming directly into me. So in advertising agencies, the creative department is made out of creatives and creative teams, and they're the people that come up with the ideas, and there's a team of people who make them come to life. So you've got graphic designers, motion designers, editors, art workers, etc. And I was in the makers team then. I then later on in my career sidestepped into creative ideation, but I did start off within the making. And because this brief didn't require any ideation, it was just a straight up design job, it went directly into the design team. And the design team at Iris in the department that I was in was fairly small, and I just happened to be in that design team. And so that is why that brief came directly into me and I single-handedly designed that piece of work. And I think, you know, the reaction that I had looking at that brief was like, okay, this might not even come to anything. Was probably what was felt when it came into the agency, and they were like, well, let's give it to the mid-level designer, she'll do a good job. I was a good designer, a great designer, and I would have done a very good job, so I understand why I was given that brief. But when I think about it now and I think about how often it's seen out in the world, I didn't actually realise back then how kind of iconic that brief would end up being and how lucky I was to actually receive it back then. So despite it not feeling like the sexiest brief on the table, I absolutely gave it everything, and I knuckled down for the next few weeks, put my headphones on, and I designed the hell out of this brief. I designed every single sticker from 0 to 5, both the sticker and the certificate. I did loads of different iterations. I thought about every single pixel, every curvature, every type of kerning, and that's the spacing between the letters of that design. That if you like double, triple zoomed into it, I have thought about it. And I'm kind of glad I did because I didn't know then that I had to stand the test of time 16 years later. But I'm really glad that I did give it that attention to detail. And that's why graphic design is so important, to make sure that we really think about absolutely everything, because even though no one else is really going to notice the decisions we make, there's just a feeling that you get from it that it's just right. But having said that, when I see it, you know, fast forward back to today and I'm just walking through the high street, seeing my artwork everywhere. And I know that's why it's iconic, but I do still have a bit of a level of cringe when I look at it, because I'm like, this is 16-year earlier me, and I've learnt so much more now. The FSA haven't updated a single thing in that design since I handed it in. And I kind of like itch to update it and make it better because I can see like tiny flaws in it. But it is what it is, and I'm still glad it's out there in the world. So the conclusion is that I was in the right team, in the right agency at the right time to have received that brief. But I will add that there were loads of comments, and I've received loads of DMs from my previous post, from people saying that they were really impressed to know that a South Asian woman designed the food hygiene rating stickers. And I'm not going to lie, I hadn't actually thought of it like that, even though I notice when other minorities or other people of colour, women of colour, create things that are quite iconic or recognisable. And I think that's really fucking cool. But I never thought about that for me. And I just want to say that it was lucky that I was in that team. But in so many instances in my career, I have been the only woman of colour in a creative department, sometimes the only person of colour, sometimes the only person of colour in an entire agency. And that is really telling. So yeah, I think it's really cool that a South Asian woman got to receive a brief like that, but it's only because I was there, right? But there aren't enough of us in those creative departments. So that's why it's so important that we have more people of colour and women of colour entering the creative industry and actually staying in it as well. So I just wanted to thank the people that reminded me of how important it was to share the story and the importance of having more diverse people within teams so that they can receive briefs to create iconic work like this one. Thanks for listening. Let me know if you've got any questions, and see you in the next video. Bye.